it says that when Jacob ran away from home, at his parents' behest, of course, his brother Esav had decided that he was going to kill him. He basically said, I'll wait for my father to die, and then I'll kill Jacob. Okay, that seemed like a good plan. That's why his parents told him to escape. Apparently, Rashi brings that Rebecca knew through divine inspiration that that's what her older son was planning to do to her younger son. It says that Esav then noticed what his parents had told his brother to marry well, go find a good wife. So Esav decided that it was time. Esav el Yishmael. Esau went to Ishmael. He went to his uncle to marry one of his daughters and make an alliance, make a marriage, a political marriage, so to speak. This is a siman for the rest of us. Ma'asevot siman labanim. It's an omen, or it's I say that because I would say it's portentous, but it might not be so good. It's ominous. Why? Because we know what Esav's intentions were. This is a paradigm case for when Esav, represented by the Western world hegemon, the the I guess basically whoever is the current Western Christian world successor to the Roman Empire, that's Esav, goes and decides, because we can't strike Jacob down just yet, we have to bide our time. We'll go to the Ishmaelites. We'll go to the Muslim world. That's what it represents, to try to somehow find a way to get at Jacob, and that's what's happening right now. That's what we see happening in front of our face right now. It is. It shouldn't scare us because we should put our trust in God. But we should know that's why it's happening. It's not the first time this has happened. It's not the second time. It's not the third time. It's going to keep happening. So we have to be on guard for this, which is why I believe that we have to wake up and try to do something. A few months ago, there was a protest. You might have recalled there was this major protest in Washington, American Jewry. I don't know exactly what they're protesting. I myself was not so on board with it. There are major Rosh Yeshiva who were also opposed. There were those who were pro. There were Rabbanim, like Rabbi Wein, who showed that there was a necessity to do such a thing. The time called for it. I believe that perhaps maybe protesting is a futile measure. I definitely didn't like the lineup of speakers they had at this protest. I don't know who was organizing it. I'm very concerned. I don't think it was done right in Ruach HaTorah, as they say, but that's in the past. What I do know now is, or at least this is what I believe, that assuming it is right to make such protests and assuming that it can make a difference, uh, we need a real Orthodox protest right now against the Brandon regime's outright anti-Semitism. Very important. We have to protest everything that's going on now. It seems that Esau, the regime, has basically decided to throw Israel under the bus. It used to be that the American administrations would have at least a lip service support of Israel. And there are things that they gave to us. And has been pointed out by political commentators who know this better than I do, perhaps it's not the best thing that Israel rely on the United States. But now the United States is outright acting like an enemy with the sanctions and France and England joining on. It seems now, and we'll explain why this is the case forthwith. It seems now that everybody's jumping on the bandwagon to try to do as much as they can to bring along the gradual destruction of the state of Israel. Everybody knows that the idea of this other state in the land of Israel, a two-state solution, a state of Amalekites within the land of Israel, is itself just a Trojan horse. Not even. It is just a vehicle to bring in more elements of destruction into the land of Israel. First, we'll start with the areas surrounding Gaza in the north, and we'll be encroaching, and the Jews will slowly lose territory and lose population and be forced back into Gullus. At least the survivors will be able to escape to Gullus, and the majority of them will be killed. That's what we have to watch out for. How do we know this happens? Well, this is alluded to in one of the shots that Rashi brings from the Medrash Tanchuma, by the way, concerning what Amalek did originally. Moshe Rabbeinu says Amalek was Asher Korcha Baderech, Karecha. He chanced upon thee. He brings the Medrash which says that he cooled you off. it's a mashal. It's an allegory for a bath in the bathhouse, a bathtub filled with water that's too hot. So a person can't go in there; he'll get burnt. Think like the jacuzzi's on too hot. So what happens? One person jumps in and takes the heat for everybody else, gets burned, and but then he comes out and it's now I guess tolerable for everybody else who wants to jump in. So Amalek were the ones who had the chutzpah to attack the Israelites right after the Exodus, and they basically showed that the Israelites are vulnerable. They open up the doors for everybody else to attack Israel. So that's what's happening now. Amalek has basically attacked Am Yisrael in a very Amalekite fashion, and now we have a war going on. And it seems that everybody who really wanted the worst for us, for example, David Cameron, Yimach Shemo v'Zichro, may he go away, and the people who run France, and of course Brandon and the rest of his regime, have decided to do whatever they can to pressure Israel into doing all sorts of things that you and I know are suicidal. And of course, the bad guys in all other places are attacking. Today, we just had another attack. We're at a war on multiple fronts right now, and it seems that, by the way, I don't know who's worse: our enemies without or enemies within. The enemies within, who are controlling our government and our military, don't seem to want to fight this war. They say it very clearly. They're not interested in winning. So it's very bad. So once a Amalek attacks, you don't get sympathy from the nations. Instead, they pile on. And don't forget the lawfare. Everything that is possible, that is bad, is happening to us right now. Everything that they could possibly do around the world to try to hurt us are that's what they're trying to do right now. And this has been told to us by our sages. This has been alluded to in the verses. This is a pattern of history. Being able to predict what's going to happen next is quite easy for anybody who's just been studying this before and then seeing that we've been here before. So I think the American Jews have a chance that they didn't have other times in history. They have to demand differently of their elected leaders. They have to fight back against this growing wave of political anti-Semitism before it is too late. So I call for a protest. I denounce the current regime and in other countries. They have to go, just like the regime here has to go. And people should stand up. There should be a protest in Washington against whatever it is that the administration is currently doing to Israel, the blackmail and the sanctions and all the rest of it, and everything trying to impose Israel basically a ceasefire and not being able to destroy its enemies. Basically, yeah, you could blow up a few houses here, but you'll have to take the I guess the establishment of your mortal enemies on your borders and eventually to take over. That's kind of funny. Why? Because the bad guys, these Amalekites, the local ones, the adjacent Jew haters, are highest in this new religion. There's a few new religions out there. They're basically Avodah Zarah. There's a religious hierarchy, a victim hierarchy, and the Amalekites are at the top. It doesn't matter how vicious and evil, how totally non-human they could be, they're at the top. So even if they commit murder and rape and pillage and attack innocents and those who have only shown them peace, all those seculars and leftists who live in the Gaza envelope, who got what I didn't say got what they deserved, but they certainly did not expect that their kindness and neighborly love for their neighbors would have been so repudiated. Okay, so they got something that they got a real wake up call. So it doesn't matter how badly these people behave, they are the highest of the hierarchy. That is, nothing bad is allowed to happen to them. They cannot lose this. They cannot lose a war. They cannot lose territory. Anything that Jews or Israelis might do to them in self-defense or justly as punishment to them is, of course, off the table. Whereas Jews and Israelis are the quintessential white colonial oppressors, and the upcoming war, and therefore they're at the bottom of this totem pole. That's what they believe in. That's their new religion. So you have to watch out for these people. We have to protest this, or at least just leave America. Why? Because once the anti-Semitism starts, by the way, this is always the case. Read your history books about the Holocaust. Yeah, what do you mean the Holocaust that can happen? I know there was someone who called me up and said, "Don't you understand that America is different?" I said, I hope it is different. I hope it doesn't follow the pattern that's been followed in the rest of history. But you should know that once these things start, they don't stop. Once you get to a certain level of anti-Semitism, it just starts to snowball. And that anti-Semitism is present within the culture, it's present within the people, and it's present within the political higher ups. It's already been established in the deep state for a very long time, this anti-Semitism, but now it's coming to a head. So we're reaching that critical mass where it's going to the point of a critical mass, point of no return, and we need to stop it before it does.